Despite the squeeze on the cost of living, shoppers are expected to spend £4.3 billion this year. That's a 12% rise on last year. Jace Tyrrell is Chief Executive of the new West End company, responsible for retailers in London's Bond Street, Oxford Street, Regent Street, and he's outside Selfridges Forest today. Jace, good to see you. Very Merry Christmas to you. A huge increase, and one that I'm fairly surprised by. Why are we seeing such robust Boxing Day sales, do you think?
It's a bit hard to hear, but I think the question was, is it busy? And certainly we've seen some good solid sales this morning. Not as frantic queues though as we've seen in previous years, but certainly some solid amount of shopping going on here. We're about to hit £20 million at 1 o'clock today here in the West End.
Why though, Jace? Sorry, I'll see if you can hear me this time. Why have we seen this or why are we expecting this rise year on year? I mean, consumer confidence over the past 12 months hasn't been particularly high, and we all know just how far a pound goes these days.
I think for the West End we're very fortunate with the international visitors. So if you look around today, a lot of Chinese, Americans are here. But I think also people have left their spending quite late. A lot of vouchers were given out over Christmas as well. So I think with the international visitors here in central London, that's playing out well. But as you say, up and down the country, it's been quite a tough Christmas for retailers.
Of course, we understand that there are two ways of doing your shopping these days, out on the streets and in the shops where you are, or online. I mean, is online putting a pressure on the high street at the moment?
Certainly, I mean, it's a new phenomenon. 3 years ago, people couldn't shop online on Christmas Day in the sales. So I think retailers now have to work both those channels exceptionally hard. And what you're seeing a lot more is in town centres and city centres, they have to create the entertainment piece and everything else. But, you know, we're seeing some good footfall here this morning, some solid sales. But retailers are really having to adapt their entire channels to make sure they maximise both online and in-store.
I mean, of course, Boxing Day sales, that's one thing. How confident are you looking into 2018 that we're going to see a similar increase across the year?
I think the headwinds are pretty tough for retailers. There's a lot of pressure on occupational costs. There's things the government could do around business rates. But actually, it's going to be a tough 18. I think we are fortunate in central London with the international visitors and the pound dropping. And in fact, there's some figures out a couple of days ago. We're expecting a record year for tourism in the UK in 2018. But I think for retailers up and down the country, it's going to be a tough one.
How do you keep those shops in your purview so exciting? Oxford Street, Regent Street. I mean, these are iconic locations. But with the move to online shopping, do you perhaps see a little bit of the...
I think also retailers are incredibly adaptive and entrepreneurial. So I think what you're seeing now is they're changing the way their store experiences are put together. So you've got restaurants, you've got culture, you've got theatre experiences happening in the stores. And I think for mayors and city councils up and down the country, they're really going to have to think their policies for their high streets and town centres, because shoppers want a different experience, customers want a different experience, which means the buildings and the offers also going to have to adapt in the next few years.
And Jace, a very quick question before we let you go. We saw huge amounts of activity on Christmas Eve, plenty of men out getting their shopping done. You know, as Chief Executive of the new West End company, when did you get your Christmas shopping finished?
I was a bit of that man dash, actually. I probably did about 80% on Christmas Eve, so I was one of those men sort of panic buying right here in the West End.
Glad to hear it wasn't just me. Jace Tyrrell, many thanks for being with us.
OK.
Now, for the latest in our series...